Welcome to the latest Wax Ecstatic Pack Break. I'm your host, Matt Sammon, and we're back in the saddle after moving cross-country with my family. Here we are. We've settled in our new location, and I have a brand new studio, too. So we'll see how everything looks and sounds from here. And one of the cool things, too, about moving to a new area, you get to experience the new card shop. So I'm going to some of these new card stores, and as you can see, raiding the budget bin. Yes, 50 cents for 1992 O-Pee-Cher Premier. And that is the set we're going to be talking about. Not just the O-Pee-Cher Premier set of 1992, but also O-Pee-Cher, the Canadian redheaded stepchild of the collecting hobby. And you will be tickled to know that there's more than just being mostly a mirror of the Topps product. O-Pee-Cher actually precedes Topps. They were making baseball cards years before Topps was. And yeah, they worked hand in hand for about 25 years together. But in the early 1990s, O-Pee-Cher breaking away from just merely copying Topps and making what was supposed to be a pretty sharp, almost premium set. And we're going to open these packs here and we'll look at these cards. We'll talk about the bottom third of the order. We'll pick 3 players from these packs. But we'll talk about how O-Pee-Cher, boy, it was a great brand strategy because the other Canadian company, Leaf, was doing the same thing in the early 90s. But it was a little too late for O-Pee-Cher. But if you were Canadian, you loved O-Pee-Cher because the sets featured a heavy emphasis on the Canadian teams, both the Toronto Blue Jays and the Montreal Expos. So without further ado, let's open up our 1992 Premier O-Pee-Cher cards. Now, the Premier brand actually started out in hockey in 1991, and it was received so well in hockey, it didn't do as well in baseball, but the 1992 set was very well regarded. And let's take a look right here at the Wizard of Oz, Ozzie Smith. Let's just separate this card here and take a look at what makes O-Pee-Cher Premier 1992 so special. For what was considered a standard factory set, a standard base set, this was a pretty sharp set. Think of, in fact, there are many mirrors, ironically, to 92 Topps. Now, it doesn't look exactly like 92 Topps, like many of the other Topps and O-Pee-Cher partnerships from previous years. But the solid white border, the cardstock, pretty good action shot here of Ozzie Smith at bat, and a very simple design. Very plain O-Pee-Cher logo in the corner. You have the Premier 92 up here, and then down here, Ozzie Smith, his name, and the team name and the position, and of course, with the product being released in Canada, you had to have English and French translations. So you have shortstop here, down for his position, and then arrête-court, that is shortstop. Stop short, basically, if you've ever studied French. Now, as we turn it over here on the back, here's something that's very interesting here. O-Pee-Cher Premier was using an alternate logo for the St. Louis Cardinals in 1992. It was the Cardinals' 100th anniversary. So instead of going with the typical birds on bat, or as the Cardinals used in the late 80s and early 90s, the single bird, kind of looking angry with his hat pulled down a little bit, they decided to go with this centennial anniversary logo, which is pretty neat. But the backs of the Premier cards, very simple, but kind of sharp too. You would have that team logo here, player name, position again in English and French, a little bit of personal information, and then, as was the standard for many base sets by then, instead of listing complete career stats, just going with the previous year and then the career year, a 2-line stat. Most of the photos on the back were just mugshots, and then a lot of space used up on the 1992 Premier logo. That's kind of a waste of space there. But something standard too with the 1990s, the color gradient, going from this kind of light yellow gold into green and into blue. Very 90s design, but still pretty sharp design there. Let's see who else is in this 8-card pack. We've got Omar Olivares. Now, did they use the same? Yeah, they used the same special logo there. Ricky Henderson here, featuring his moment in the 1992 season, the early portion of the 1992 season, where he got his 1,000th stolen base on May 1st, 1992. Look at those specs Ricky's got. Man, you can land an airplane on that flat top. That's spectacular. George Bell with the White Sox. And, of course, this was after the infamous trade of Bell from the Cubs to the White Sox for some guy named Sammy Sosa. So, George Bell there, boy, is he letting the soul glow in that shot. Love it. We may talk about him in this upcoming podcast. At the other end of the spectrum, but also a bit of a red ass there's Carlton Fisk, looking bitter. That's the same look he gave me when I tried to get his bat in that spring training games I was a bat boy for. Fisk looks like he may just have nubbed out a grounder there. He does not look happy. Von Hayes with the Angels. Wait a minute. We normally associate Von Hayes with the Indians or the Phillies, but no, there he is with the Angels. Looking damn glad to be there. Now, we've already talked about Von Hayes in this program, but perhaps I'll bring him up again. Doug Drabek at his peak, 1992. That's before he fled in free agency to Houston. Native Astros fan. And then Sean Dunston, who we recently talked about on this program, wrapping up our first pack. All right, let's open up pack number 2 here. Let's see. Danny Gladden. I don't know if I've ever seen him referred to as Danny Gladden, also known as Dan Gladden, of course, one of the heroes of the Minnesota Twins in 1991, playing for Detroit there in 1992. And looks like they pretty much used almost the same picture, front and back. Here, let's see. No, probably consecutive shots, though, in the role. Darryl Strawberry with the LA Dodgers. Not quite the, dare I say, homecoming that they were quite expecting there. But a great shot of Straw. This would have gotten you a couple bucks right out of the pack back in the day. Frank Thomas, the big hurt. Followed by Ken Griffey Jr. Goodness. And look at that. There's Frank Thomas. There's that smile with the lumber back there. Man, you got Ken Griffey Jr. in your next card. Tony Gwynn next. Look at these guys. Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer. Jeff Bagwell. So that would have been a great find as well in 1992. Oh, this is where we hit the prices right. Yeah, Phil Plantier, one of the many much ballyhooed young prospects of the Boston Red Sox, didn't quite pan out. And then Mike Bordick, who was the serviceable shortstop for the Oakland A's. Also a second baseman, as you can see here. And the heir apparent to Walt Weiss, who, of course, was the defensive wizard for those A's teams in the late 80s and early 90s. So let's take a look at this. So we've got Ozzie Smith, Ricky Henderson. I'm even going to pass on George Bell for the moment. Carlton Fisk. Let me get these guys in frame here. My bad. Okay. All right. Frank Thomas, Ken Griffey Jr., Tony Gwynn, Jeff Bagwell. I mean, that's half the haul right there. That's 7 of 16 cards. And then, you know, still honorable mention, George Bell, Doug Drabek, Von Hayes. They were the stars of the day. Well, Darryl Strawberry, he was still mashing him back then. But you only have, out of 16 cards, 5 that you kind of go, eh. But a pretty good assortment here of Hall of Famers, young stars, rookies. This is not a bad junk wax era set. For one, you get those packs at 50 cents a piece, depending on the store that you get them. But also, as we'll discuss in this upcoming podcast, it's dropping at noon Eastern on Friday, July the 16th. We're going to talk about why this is one of the true gems of the junk wax era, because not only do you get stars here, but it's a much smaller set. And because O-Pee-Cher, especially in the States, was often just kind of brushed off to the side, if you can find this it's pretty inexpensive. So if you're looking for an affordable collection of stars on a pretty sharp design, then you may want to look back at O-Pee-Cher. And we're going to do that. Not just the O-Pee-Cher Premier set, again, of 1992, but we'll track the history of O-Pee-Cher, how it preceded Topps, how it mirrored Topps for many years, and then how it broke away starting in 1991. And it all started with hockey, went to baseball, certainly found a home in Canada, but I think could find a home in many collectors' shelves these days. Especially, you're not going to make a ton of money off of these, but Bagwell, Griffey, Thomas, Gwynn, all just right there. How many more stars do you need? So join us for our next podcast. We took a little hiatus 4th of July weekend. I made the move. We're all settled in. We hope you settle in with us. Again, this Friday, July 16th, look for it at noon Eastern. I'm your host, Matt Sammon. Thanks for watching this Wax Ecstatic Pack Break.